and welcome to 2-Day Rentals. Today we are talking about Waterworld movie merchandise. A few weeks ago I put a poll up on Twitter and had a few topics up there. One of them was Waterworld movie merchandise, and that's what won. So everyone that voted, thank you so much. If you don't already, go follow me over on Twitter. I post just about every day, stuff from my collection, things I find interesting, anything that pertains to all the stuff we'd like to talk about here on this channel. Speaking of which, if you haven't already, hit the like button on this video, hit subscribe, you'll get notified whenever I post new videos. We like to talk movies, video games, music, toys, movie merchandise, all that fun stuff from yesterday, tomorrow, and today. And it just so happens that we're talking about Waterworld movie merchandise on this video, and I'm actually pretty excited. It's something I wanted to do for a while. I won't spend a ton of time talking about the movie itself. You know, it's not really a channel where I do reviews. Now, never say never. I may very well do a movie review from time to time. But, you know, that's not what this video is all about. It's about all the cool stuff that we would stock here at 2-Day Rentals if it was a real store. And Waterworld came out in 1995. It was the most expensive movie made up until that point. 2 years later, Titanic took that over. Another movie on the water. I think that that's where the price sort of goes up. And I do believe that Steven Spielberg or some different people that have made movies on the water highly advise them not to do so much actually on the water, but I think that's where a lot of the $175 million went to make this movie. I think Waterworld's a fun movie. You know, critics didn't like it. I think it's got some more love later on. Real quick, you know, the movie, it's about end times. It's post-apocalyptic, I think, kind of. You know, the ice caps have melted, the year's 2500, and the whole world is covered in water, which it mostly is anyway, but imagine that, right? So yeah, I mean, the story kind of goes along. There's this girl named Enola who has this tattoo on her back that apparently leads to dry land, or what potentially could be a little sliver of land. And so you've got different characters. Helen, who's her guardian, and the Mariner, played by Kevin Costner, who's sort of the hero. You find out later he's like a dolphin man, kind of a fish man. He can breathe underwater. His arch enemy is Deacon, who's taken over this huge Exxon Valdez oil tanker, and that's his floating battleship. And so Deacon's trying to get to the girl. The Mariner, the unsuspecting kind of hero, kind of this not so good guy, kind of bad guy, ends up being her protector. Yeah, it's a neat movie, and I highly recommend watching it. If you want to watch it, you got a few options. Of course, it's digital. You can stream it, I'm sure, somewhere. Or buy it on iTunes or wherever you buy your movies. You've got the VHS if you want to go old school. I have this, found this for pennies. But I would say if you want to dive a bit deeper, you're going to hear me say that a couple of times in the Waterworld episode. Lame. Get the Arrow Blu-ray. I picked this up at Texas Frightmare, and it's a 2-disc Blu-ray set. It's got a bunch of extra features, one of which is called Dances with Waves. Play on words there. It's a making of movie talking about what all went into this movie. It was all practically done off the coast of Hawaii, so you got a lot of really good stuff there. But I think maybe the real selling point for big time fans is that there's actually two different versions of this movie on each disc. There's the theatrical release, and then there's also the Ulysses cut, which contains a bunch of extra scenes and stuff that had to be censored prior. I have not watched it. Maybe another time. And so anyway, I'll be curious to see what that's all about. I've seen the theatrical cut many times, and like I said, I really do enjoy it. There's also Laserdisc. I failed to mention if that's your thing. I don't collect Laserdisc. I get enough trouble as it is with VHS, though I try to keep my collection small. If you were to go to the video store, the rental store, and staff picks, right? A little small little collection of VHS. They're just kind of cumbersome to collect. They don't take up a lot of space, but they can over time. There was a box set that came out a few years ago that has this same DVD set, but then some extras. Like it's got, I think, a movie book, like an art book, a poster, and it comes in a nice little box. the price of that's gone way up. I'll be okay with just this. All right, the first little bit of merchandise we're going to talk about is probably the most quirky of all of them, but it's exactly the kind of stuff I love and stuff you just don't see being made anymore. And that's the Waterworld Boda Bag. Now, a Boda Bag is essentially usually made out of leather. In this case, this one's made of leather. And it's got a lining in it. You put liquid, water in it. And I think it's a perfect promotional item for a movie like Waterworld. I mean, listen, fresh drinking water is a scarce scarcity on Waterworld. And what better way to keep your precious water than on your person? I think this came out as like a pre-release promotional item. You could put your name in a lottery, and if you got drawn, this was something they sent to you because it says coming this summer on it. They actually still sell this particular Boda Bag, this exact same, or it looks like this exact same model or whatever. Heck, you could pick one up and stamp that insignia on it. I think these are a bit harder to come by in its original form, but have that. It's something we would definitely keep in stock here at 2 Day Rentals, no doubt. Super quirky. You know, and another thing that they did was, speaking of keeping with the theme of water and Waterworld, I believe these were given out at Universal Studios in their gift shop there or somewhere in the park. And it's these t-shirts that came compressed down. I think it says like 50 tons of pressure. Throw it in water and it expands and you get this t-shirt. We've seen things like this, you know, grow a dinosaur, grow a robot. They usually come out to be a mess. This, however, seems like perfect to throw in with the theme of water and everything like that. Just a quirky little item. I'm not sure if this exact t-shirt that I have pictured was one of the ones compressed inside there. I just happened to pick that one out. There were several different Waterworld t-shirts that they made. This one's neat. It's got the really neat color scheme with the orange and the blue. And you got the Trimarian that's on there. I'm going to get that wrong a million times. And some smokers, some different things from the movie. I really like that shirt. And in its original form, I'm pretty sure it fetches a pretty penny. All those licensed merchandise, like t-shirts from the 90s and further back, just, man, they're expensive. So check Etsy. I'm sure there's someone that's doing like a design of it that's pretty similar. But yeah, these two things are fascinating, right? So there's something else that they had as a promotional item, which you see a lot with movie merchandising and slapping a brand on something is wristwatches. Now, I've got a Congo wristwatch that was like a promotional item. They did it for Waterworld. You know, I don't know who's going around wearing these. Well, I would wear it. But, you know, back in the day, you know, maybe for a kid or something like that, or maybe today, kind of ironically, like, oh, check out my Waterworld wristwatch. Interesting that they always seem to make watches out of things. And I guess it's just people like watches, and it's an accessory that you can swap in and out, so that has to be why. But I think the watch was available at retail, you know, Suncoast or Hollywood Video, something like that. But, you know, it's things like this that I just feel like we don't have enough of these days. And especially the Boda Bag and the compressed shirt that I'm sure stayed wrinkled, which, a matter of fact, on the box it says like it stays wrinkled for years afterwards. Man, that's just neat, right? That's just super cool. I know we mentioned Universal Studios earlier, and I'm actually kind of surprised, since it's a Universal property, that in the parks there wasn't more merchandise available. Like, for instance, at the Terminator 3D show, they sold like dedicated figures that you could only get at the park for that show. And to my knowledge, they didn't do anything like that with Waterworld. While the stunt show was running, I got a chance to see it when I went back in the 90s. It was awesome. Something I still think that they should keep around today. Much like with other movies, you know, as a matter of fact, I've got a few of these. They did trading cards. Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, another Kevin Costner movie. Back to the Future, The Shadow, some horror ones, Indiana Jones. I'll get to opening these someday, maybe when I talk about those movies. I've never seen the Waterworld ones. I believe they were done by Fleer. I like these. I think they're a neat little collectible. A lot of times you can get them for little or nothing. As a matter of fact, I was at a thrift store when I was out of town for work, and I found the complete 89 Batman set for like $20, which I thought was neat. They're cool because a lot of times you have like artist renderings or sketches, sort of design sketches or behind the scenes stuff and little bits of trivia on the back. So I'm sure the Waterworld ones have that. I haven't really seen many of them like sort of out and displayed as individual cards. And I've never seen them out at a convention or anything like that. If I have, I've just missed them. But, you know, obviously little things like that, easy, fun to collect. Yeah, throw those in stock here at 2-Day Rentals. You know, if it was a physical place like Suncoast, I can't say this enough, you know, imagine this like idea, right, of all this stuff being in one like brick and mortar building. It'd have to be huge, because as 2-Day Rentals grows and I do more videos, I'll be like, yeah, that's something I would definitely have in stock here. This place would have to be gigantic to keep your Boda bags and your stacks of cards, right? Movie tie-in trading cards. So yeah, that's definitely something I would keep in stock at 2-Day Rentals for sure. You know, and before we get into some of the stuff that I actually have and own, there were a few other things that they had available. They had Pogs, and, you know, the stars were aligned for this. I mean, in the 90s, especially the mid-90s, Pogs were all the rage. If you don't know what they are, it was a game, and I'm never sure if I actually played it correctly. I just, for a while, I collected the different types of Pogs. I never had any Waterworld Pogs, and according to waters-end.fandom, I'll put the link down here. I think that's it. That's where I got a lot of this information. The Waterworld Pogs are like the rarest of rare. It's like the holy grail item if you're a hardcore Waterworld movie merchandise collector. The Pogs, of all things, right? Little pieces of cardboard. You know, once you got them, you traded them, you threw them around, you tore them up. I don't know. Like, I think I understood the game. You slam them down, whatever turns over, you lose. I think it was supposed to be one of those kind of things. If you lose them, they actually go to that person for keeps. I never really did it that way. Quirky little thing. Waterworld Pogs, they're extremely valuable, bizarre. You know, if you know more about those, definitely let me know. But it's just, again, you know, when a movie of this caliber back in the 90s was coming out, they're looking to cash in any way they can. Pogs, trading cards, Boda bags. Now let's talk about video games, and there's actually a pretty interesting little lineage in history with the Waterworld video games. Just to get it out of the way, first and foremost, there was a pinball machine. Never seen it out, never played it. It looks really cool. I'll picture it here or whatever. And so, yeah, you know, that was a big thing too. When a movie came out or a TV show, they would have a pinball machine. So the biggest and most well-known Waterworld game is the one for the Virtual Boy, which I actually have here. And, you know, the thing about the Virtual Boy, I'll just come right out and say it, is there was a lot of hype around it. I wanted it super bad, and one of the reasons was the Waterworld game. I have the magazine that sort of previewed the Waterworld, that previewed the Virtual Boy, and in there, it had a preview of the Waterworld game. But it looked awesome, and it wasn't till many, many, many years later, because this is one of the rarer games on the Virtual Boy, and I rented a Virtual Boy. It didn't quite live up to my expectations. I thought it was cool, but I was like, maybe I'll wait. And I didn't get my Virtual Boy till like 2001 or 2002 when they were just dirt cheap. Now they're super collectible, and I have all but one game, Jack Brothers. I have the Japanese version, but that's way out of my price range. And I was actually able to get this really cheap at that time when no one gave a damn. And no one really still gives a damn about this game. I'm going to say this, and I know it's a very unpopular opinion. I don't hate this game. I don't think it's nearly as bad as a lot of people claim that it is. And I'll put some gameplay footage up. It's kind of hard to capture the Virtual Boy. But look, you know, I mean, the hype was unbelievable. Look at this poster. And a funny story about this, I'll show that. I'll talk more about that here in a minute. And it was one of those games, it looked like it was a virtual reality experience. I get it. We all knew it was going to be red and different shades of red. This game, I have fun with it. It's by no means good. On a library as small as the Virtual Boy, you take what you can get. And yeah, I mean, it's okay. I think a lot of people just want to hate on it, and I get it, and I could definitely see why. It's like an endless type shooter type thing, and when I actually show the Super Nintendo version, which I'll actually play a little bit of that for you in here in a minute, the first level in that is very reminiscent of this, but it is what it is. It's crazy to think that the one and only licensed game for it's crazy to think there was a licensed game for the Virtual Boy, and the one and only one that they came up with was Waterworld. Waterworld actually did come out on the Super Nintendo, like I said, and I'll talk more about that in a minute when I play it. The Game Boy. Never played the Game Boy version. I hear it's actually decent. I actually think that it, as far as most people is concerned, that's the the best version of a Waterworld game you could get, maybe outside of the PC game. And that's like a sort of a strategy type game, a real-time strategy game reminiscent of Red Alert or Diablo type style. Anyway, I've never played that one, but it was out there. They did have a PlayStation game planned, Atari Jaguar game planned, and a 3DO game. It looks like that almost like Ocean like took some renderings from the unfinished PlayStation game and used that in their advertisements, because obviously this wasn't going to be in the Virtual Boy. I want to say that the PlayStation version was going to be like almost like Rebel Assault, like a on-rail shooter where you don't control the movement, you just kind of go throughout like those old laser active light gun games. And then the Sega Saturn version, based on the screenshots, and I don't think there's ever been any of these leaked at all, it was almost like Panzer Dragoon, but on water. Kind of makes sense, and I kind of think that actually would have worked. You know, there's been a lot of times where you have an incident where the movie's not great at all, but the game's awesome. Take The Mummy with Tom Cruise that came out a few years ago. Like, The Mummy Demastered is a really cool little game. The movie kind of flopped. And I don't know where this falls. I just think that, again, this movie was so hyped, so big, that they were looking to cash in anywhere they could. And it may have been that these games were kind of towards the end of their development after the movie was released. And since the buzz was kind of waning a little bit and sort of tampering down, maybe they decided to scratch it, or maybe they had some technical issues. I don't really know. I wish we would have got them. And, you know, sadly we didn't. Now, one last thing on the video games, and then I'll show some gameplay footage of me playing the Super Nintendo version. There was actually a completed version for the Sega Genesis, and it came out on the Sega Channel, for those that remember that, and it was on there for a brief while, then taken down. And thanks to people that are gaming historians and people that want to preserve those things, they have found the ROM of that, and you can actually get it and throw it on a ROM card or a emulator and play it. I only have experience really playing the Virtual Boy game and the the Super Nintendo game, which I'm about to show you, which I really, really enjoy. So we're gonna play a little bit of Waterworld on the Super Nintendo. Now, as I may or may not have mentioned, this game did not actually come out in North America. I think it was supposed to, but it was only released in Europe. And it's broken up into a few different phases. First one here, you sort of man the Trimarian, tomato, and you're supposed to take out these smokers. And it's very reminiscent of the Virtual Boy game. And obviously it looks better. Now, this is kind of more along the lines of what we thought the Virtual Boy game may look like, with a bit more graphic detail. Listen, this game isn't like by any means perfect, but it's a hell of a lot of fun, especially for a licensed title. I think the graphics are pretty good. The music, as I may or may not have mentioned before, is absolutely fantastic. You know, the control on this is a bit wonky, and I think that it actually isn't looking too great on the capture device. I think it's kind of skipping some frames or something. So after you take out X amount of smokers, it's going to tell you now to head to a diving buoy. And so you have limited amount of oxygen. As we know, Kevin Costner's character, the Mariner, is like a fish man, like a dolphin man, right? He's got to come up for air at some point in time. I think that's soil down there, and I think I need to get that soil for like big bucks. Maybe that's soil. I don't really know. So if you get hit, you lose a bit more energy and oxygen. You have to make it back up to the surface before you perish. It's a bit hard to kind of see. You can see those little breaks in the structure there. You don't want to get hit by those, especially at this point, because it would take off a lot of energy, and I want to try to make it back to the surface at least. And it actually goes down pretty slow. Obviously, the further you get, the more complicated it is. I want to keep going on here. So I didn't get any soil, but I got 11 treasures. I'm not quite sure what these have done. I haven't played through this entire game. I think there's a sequence later where you can trade some of this stuff for more weapons. That song in particular is awesome. Like I said, the music in this is really, really good. And I think graphically, It's not bad. I mean, it's not the best looking Super NES game. It's not like Super Mario RPG or anything. Now, at this part, I believe that you do actually have to rescue. I think you have to rescue some people. And this is very reminiscent of the Virtual Boy game. Help, help, help. Oh, look at that little spin shot. Again, it's not the most perfect game, but I actually quite like it. Oh, there we go. Rescued some people. Suck it. Can I jump it like the stunt show? Not yet, at least. Maybe. Oh, nice. Enter the atoll. Now, it changes it up a bit on you. Now it's more of like a platform kind of action. And I'll show you a little bit of this, and that'll be that. And I think maybe one day I'll try streaming this or something. I keep saying that with games, and I've yet to go around to do like a live stream. There's a Boda bag. I've talked about that already. The controls in general are a bit clunky, but you know, you've got some parallax scrolling. I know that's a big thing with the Super Nintendo. It did that really well. It looks like, you know, sort of a characterization of the Mariner, Kevin Costner. Music's awesome. I died. Oh, look at that. I say switch weapons, but there's actually a few decent weapons in this game. There it is. And I think this, you know, takes a few less hits, but I'm telling you, I don't hate this game. Good music, decent little graphics, and for a licensed game, when we talk about that here at 2-Day Rentals, you know, oh, this is more like a machine gun type thing. Look at that. It's very rare that you got a good one, and I would say this one's good. And, you know, as I mentioned before, I don't even really hate the Virtual Boy game. It's like, with a limited library on the Virtual Boy, I think you got to take what you get now. It didn't look at all, like I said, what we thought it was going to look like. I think that was the way that they sold it. But, you know, oh no! At least I'll go a little bit further till I die, which will probably be here pretty soon. Sometimes it's hard to see where you are going to jump. You know, if I had to complain about something else, I would say that sometimes you can't really see where you're jumping. Can I go this way? Okay. See, that's one of those kind of things. I didn't know if I was going to fall through there. We'll keep going until our fish food, which I guess would be ourself. We're just going to eat ourself. Well, I didn't find him, but it's got a password save system, which is kind of nice. So, hey, look at this. Only the ocean's better than me. Whatever. But fun game. I definitely recommend checking it out. And, you know, I don't think it's that expensive. If you get it on the Super Nintendo, of course, it's European release only. But Waterworld for the Super Nintendo. Oh boy, my favorite. Well, you know, toys, video games, as far as stuff like that, they're 1A, 1B, but now it's time to talk about the toy line. And it, you know, they were gonna do it. It was just, they already had Kevin Costner's head molded. And if you know Kenner, they were like, well, we got all these extra Robin Hood heads laying around, so, you know, let's go ahead and do Waterworld toys because we have a million Kevin Costner's molds already made up. And then we'll get some alien bodies, and we'll get this, that, and other, and we'll mishmash and Jurassic Park, and, you know, make these Frankenstein type figures. And Kenner did all of that. Now, here's the thing. Growing up, I didn't really see these where I lived. You know, we had a KB in town, and I just never saw these. If they were on the store shelves, they probably sold really quickly, or they just got small quantities, or maybe we never really got it. Now, I have a couple that I have loose. Actually, this guy I got on card. And I'll put pictures of these up as well. This is a smoker. He's got his jet ski. It's got grenades that shoot. Are you ready for this? So cool. His grenade is probably more like a missile. I mean, that's a bit extreme, isn't it? Kenner, again, taking it to the millionth degree. I've tested it. It doesn't float that well. I'm sure it probably could if you kind of balanced it right. I even tried, oh Lord, the smoker. Look, he's attached, so you're not gonna lose your figure in the pool. And if these were meant to be played with in water, they don't float great. And maybe that does a bit better job. I tried it both ways. I didn't really see it, but I'll throw some more videos of these up while I'm talking about them. The smoker, great color scheme. You know, the figures themselves are a little sun-baked. They're a little tan. They got kind of a reddish color to them, which is awesome. And then I have the Enforcer here, and I did find him loose. But yeah, here he is, and I'll show some more pictures of him. He's great. It's a great little mold, you know. It looks just like the guy in the movie. And, yeah, fun stuff. But I've been hanging on to these. I've been saving these for this video, and I've had these for a while. We've got Deacon, still on the card here. The Mariner. Wow. With his Wave Ripper. These are all the Waterworld figures that I have. Okay? I don't have the Trimarian. It's classified as a playset. It's big. I've seen pictures of it. One day, I would definitely like to pick that up. Just hasn't happened yet. But that's okay. I'll add it to my collection. I like play sets. You guys know that. But, you know, here we go. We're gonna open up this sucker. Open it up here for everyone at 2 Day Rental. And I save all these cards. I've got a Matchbox binder that I keep all these in. Dude, look at this guy. I'll keep the accessories in there. Look at him just flexing. I bet you this one floats a little bit better. It looks like it's got a bit more stability. Man, that is great. Now, I think I misspoke here. They probably didn't put the exact Kevin Costner molds. As a matter of fact, I think the Robin Hood figures look more like Kevin Costner than this guy. But he's got a little pony. He's got a little ponytail. He's got a dagger and is on the back there. Check it out. This thing launches some grappling hooks, it looks like. He comes with a little machine gun. Got a little tail here. I bet you this one floats pretty good. At some point in time, I'll put him to the test. Again, I took the smoker out on the water. This is awesome. I mean, he's got this sort of gradient, like airbrush. You know, if you're gonna own a Mariner figure, there's another one that I think is kind of cool. Yeah, it's the one with a bow and arrow of all things, just like Robin Hood. And yeah, they had Nord, the Enforcer, and then Deacon. So, you know, I've got a few more to go. I don't know if I'll dive any deeper into collecting the Waterworld figures. I kind of have this thing. If I have 2 good guys, I got to have 2 bad guys. I got to keep it balanced. Not always. I'm real excited about this one just because it looks a lot like Dennis Hopper. And he's got a really neat accessory, which I am going to take out. And it's not this ginormous jetpack, which is actually kind of cool. I think it shoots like discs. It's actually this gun. And I know I've said in videos before, I don't collect figures for the accessories. I've kind of changed my tune about that. If you saw my post on Twitter, I found an Eddie Munson Stranger Things figure, and I just so happened to have the Crow McFarlane figure, and he came with a guitar, and the scale is perfect, it fits perfect, so there you go. The accessory that I'm talking about here is this awesome machine gun. It's got this skull on the back of it, which I just think is just awesome. And this looks a lot like Dennis Hopper. As a matter of fact, Kenner missed the mark. They should have done a Speed toy line. They did not. And you know what? You can make a custom. Here you go. Find you a Keanu Reeves figure somewhere. I'm sure they've made some, maybe not on this scale, but I think this may be my favorite of the Waterworld figures. I don't know. I just think that's an awesome mold. Dennis Hopper. The accessory's awesome. He's got all of his medals on there, which I'm sure he salvaged and he stole. I don't know what he's winning medals for, being a deacon. Yeah, being a deacon. And so, oh man. Look, here we go. Here we go, man. We've got, this is where it's at, man. We've got the Mariner ripping it up. You might as well take him off here. Why not? You gotta love it. Waterworld toys by Kenner. These probably came out 95. I'm sure they went out right with the movie. Yeah, 95. They're great. They're great. Miko, grab D. Glad that I could open these up and share these with you on this episode. I waited just for that. I've got 4 total, not the whole set. I think the next thing I'd like to find is the Trimarian. And then if I could find some of those other ones loose, I'd be okay with that. But I wanted a good guy jet ski or wave ripper. I wanted a smoker with his jet ski so I can battle it out in water. I feel like it's nice and balanced that way. These are great. These are really, really great. And if you have any experience collecting these, if you have the entire set completed, share with me. Share with me all your experiences with all things Waterworld. Have you played the computer game? Have you played the Virtual Boy game? Have you got a chance to check out the Super Nintendo game? I would love to know. Thanks so much for stopping by 2-Day Rentals. It's like I always say here on my channel when I finish up one of these videos, let's be kind as we rewind and fast forward through time. Again, thank you so much for stopping by. Are you ready for this? So cool.